Claude's context window is nearly 8 times larger than ChatGPT's, and they both cost exactly $20 a month. That gap is verified, and it changes which one you should actually be paying for. Both tools just got major model updates, so now's the right time to sort this out. I'm running Claude against ChatGPT across 5 tests, pulling from official pricing pages, published benchmark data, and model cards, so every number here has a source behind it. One of these tools will flat out refuse your creative writing request, which could completely kill your workflow if you're a writer paying $20 a month expecting freedom. And that's what Test 4 settles. My name is Brian, and I'm in these tools 12 hours a day, so you don't have to be. I went through every number both companies will actually stand behind, 5 dimensions, 31 data points, 4 verified verdicts, and I'm going to give you a decision rule you can use today. You've probably heard both tools are great, so why does the choice even matter? If you're a developer running a codebase through an AI, or a researcher trying to process a 100-page document, picking the wrong one means hitting a wall mid-project. The wrong $20 a month is a real cost. Test 1, reasoning and accuracy. The day your AI gets a software engineering task wrong, you're shipping broken code and spending hours debugging something the tool was supposed to handle. And that's why I looked at actual published benchmark scores instead of just going off feel. What surprised me is that these two models don't even compete on the same benchmarks. Claude's SWE bench score sits at 62.3% on verified software engineering tasks, and ChatGPT's O1 lands at the 89th percentile on Codeforce's competitive coding. So you're looking at completely different test sets, and a direct comparison isn't really possible. The gap here is smaller than it looks, because they're just not being tested on the same things. Claude scores 96.5% on physics problems and 96.2% on Math 500, while ChatGPT exceeds human PhD level accuracy on GPQA Diamond. So both are genuinely strong in different areas, and the winner depends on your actual workload. Reasoning and accuracy, it's a tie, and I thought one of them would pull ahead clearly, but the data just doesn't support that call. Claude owns software engineering benchmarks, ChatGPT owns competitive coding and PhD level science, and neither covers the other's ground. Scoreboard stays flat, one tie on the board. Test 2, subscription cost and free tier. $20 a month sounds the same until you hit the free tier limit and realize one tool just downgraded you to a mini model mid-conversation, while the other kept giving you the full thing. And that's not a small difference when you're testing before you commit. I went through both pricing pages carefully, and at the $20 tier, they're literally identical in price. Claude Pro gives you the full Opus model with rate limits. ChatGPT Plus gives you 160 messages every 3 hours with GPT 5.6. Sol, but the free tier difference is real because Claude keeps the full model while ChatGPT drops you to a mini model after 10 messages in 5 hours. Subscription cost is another tie, and I thought one might pull a trick with hidden tiers, but both land at exactly $20 a month for the flagship plan. Claude edges the free tier, but that's not enough to break the tie at the paid level. 2 ties now, nothing separated yet. Test 3, response speed and latency. If you're literally hammering one of these tools with back-to-back requests during a work session, a slow response breaks your flow and costs you real time across hundreds of queries. So I went looking for actual published speed numbers from both sides. What I found, and this kind of surprised me, is that neither company publishes a real response time benchmark you can actually compare. Claude Code's tool calls run 300 to 800 milliseconds each, but that's a developer-specific metric, not general chat speed, and I couldn't find a clean apples-to-apples speed figure for either tool at the consumer level. Speed is a tie too, and I'm calling it that way, because there's no verified data to score it. And I'm not scoring vibes. 3 ties on the board now, and this one stays unresolved until someone publishes a real benchmark. 2 tests left, and this is where things actually split. Test 4 tells you whether Claude will refuse your work mid-project, and Test 5 is where that 8 times context gap we opened with finally pays off, so don't skip these 2. Test 4, content moderation and creative freedom. 34% of AI users have switched tools specifically because of content restrictions, and if you're a writer or creative professional paying $20 a month, getting refused on a legitimate project can straight up kill your workflow. The data here is pretty clear. Claude maintains what the sources describe as a categorical refusal of sexually explicit content, and won't budge even if your prompt explicitly tells it not to moderate, while ChatGPT is more permissive, though it can water things down too. The enforcement gap is real. Claude can terminate accounts for repeated violations. ChatGPT flags, but is less severe. ChatGPT takes content moderation, and the gap turned out bigger than I figured, because Claude's restrictions are by design and they're strict across the board. For creative freedom, ChatGPT wins this one clearly, which puts the score at Claude 0, ChatGPT 1 with 3 ties still sitting there. Test 5, Context Window and Document Handling. 1 million tokens versus 128,000. That's the gap we opened with. And it matters most if you've ever had an AI lose track of your document halfway through, forget earlier context, or cut you off mid-analysis. I went through the official model cards and the numbers are verified. Claude Opus 4.6 and Sonnet 4.6 both carry a full 1 million token context window at standard pricing. ChatGPT's maximum is 128,000 tokens with GPT-4o, and at the enterprise tier, Claude gives you 500,000 tokens, while ChatGPT stays at 128,000. The gap holds at every level. Claude takes context, window, no contest. ChatGPT stays at 128,000 tokens, all the way up to enterprise, while Claude sits at 1 million, which is nearly 8 times more. And that gap just doesn't close. Score is now Claude 1, ChatGPT 1, 3 tied. Claude wins on context, and it's not close. 1 million tokens versus 128,000 means you can feed it entire code bases or research papers without losing the thread. It scores 62.3% on SWE Bench for software engineering tasks, and the free tier gives you the full Opus model instead of a downgraded mini. ChatGPT wins on creative freedom and competitive coding. Its O1 model sits at the 89th percentile on Codeforces. It's more permissive for creative and adult content, and at the $20 tier, you get 160 messages every 3 hours, plus a broader plugin ecosystem that's a real advantage for everyday versatility. I went in thinking one of these would pull ahead clearly, and the overall result is a 1-to-1 tie with 3 draws. So the pick really comes down to your failure mode. If you're a developer or researcher and losing document context mid-project is the thing you can't afford, Claude's 1 million token window is the answer, because 8 times more context, same $20, is a pretty hard argument to beat. If you're a creative professional and getting refused mid-project would break your workflow, ChatGPT's more permissive setup is the safer bet. I ran Claude up against Gemini 1.5 Pro next, and that one's interesting because Gemini actually matches the 1 million token context window, but comes in at a different price point entirely. So the cost story flips completely, and that comparison is already on the channel if you want to keep going.